Nathan raced across rooftops with the dead assassin on his back. He was certain that he would murder all the Clays in one fell swoop when, suddenly, he felt another presence beside him. It was his father, Ulrich.
"Nathan, lad, what happened here?" "Never mind him, father. This man was sent by the Clays to murder Amelia. I aim to seek vengeance for her."
Before Nathan could continue his quest, Ulrich grabbed his shoulder.
"Wait! Nathan! Remember what I warned you. If you go there looking for a fight, you'll find it and then end up in the Duke's dungeon for fighting in private." "What would you have me do, father?"
"I would have you torment them without drawing blood. Terrify them, and they will leave us alone until the examination. Of that much I am certain. But whatever you do, don't fight them. I'm sorry I wasn't there earlier." Nathan sighed and nodded his head. "It's all right, father. What's done is done. I will do as you say, and return back swiftly. Be safe, my son. I will stay with Amelia until you return. Now go. You don't have much time before sunrise." Lord Byrum waited impatiently in his chambers, staring into a fire and praying fervently to the heavens for good news. If his assassination efforts worked, he would sacrifice a great bull in their honor. Thud! A loud noise outside shook Lord Byrum from his thoughts as he grabbed his battle-axe, rushed out of his chambers, and entered the courtyard, where the rest of House Clay had gathered. They, too, had raced outside to figure out where the sound had originated from.
"What was that sound? What's happening? Are we under attack?"
Lord Byrum's brother, Goldenaxe, pointed right behind him.
"A message, my lord."
Slowly, Lord Byrum turned around. Immediately his face went pale. On the ground before him lay a black and bloody mass. Mordrid Daggeth's face was barely recognizable underneath dozens of gashes and a thick coating of blood and bile. It was, perhaps, the most brutalized body the Clay family had ever seen.
"Mordrid? Can it be?"
Lord Byrum knelt beside the boy as Goldenaxe approached as well. Goldenaxe's voice quivered as he examined their dead servant.
"All of his bones are cut clean through, my lord. Every single one of them."
Suddenly, a crowd formed around the body. Every single member of House Clay stood there, shaken to the core. Mordrid was the second strongest spiritual fighter of their house, besides Lord Byrum himself. They all knew that whoever did this must have been extremely powerful.
"My lord, look! There is a note here."
A guard of House Clay pointed at a small piece of parchment clenched in the dead man's fist. Lord Byrum swiftly pulled the paper out and held it up to a nearby torch to read. The words he read shocked him so much that he dropped the paper and leaned against the wall in horror. Goldenaxe's eyes widened at his brother's expression.
"What is it, brother? What does the message say?"
All crowded even closer toward their lord as he whispered while staring out 1,000 yards into nothingness.
"The next to die is your lord's successor, Michael Clay."
All of them gasped as they turned to face Michael in the crowd. Michael's own face lost all color as he cleared his throat nervously. Goldenaxe picked up the note from the ground and shook his head. It was even worse than he imagined.
"The letter itself is written in blood."
"Father? Father, what do I do?" Michael shivered in the cold night air, terrified of the sky above him and of any shadows that could be harboring his doom. His body tensed up like he was ready to run inside at a moment's notice.
"Damn it all!"
Lord Byrum recomposed himself as anger flooded out the fear inside of him. He grabbed the note from Goldenaxe and tore it up into pieces in front of his men.
"You, guards there, go bury him somewhere quietly, without a marker. Yes, at once, my lord.
Lord Byrum fumed as he watched Mordred's body get carried out of the compound. Mordrid was an assassin for hire with no family ties and no known acquaintances outside of the Clay family. What troubled Lord Byrum the most was that Mordrid was known for never talking, even when captured. Mordrid had escaped a number of times in captivity, and not once had information about the hit been leaked before. This time, however, was clearly different.
How could his attackers have known he was with us? What horrendous ways did they torture him into giving up House Clay? It must have been awful, considering all the things I'd sworn to do to him if he ever double-crossed me. His killer must be truly terrifying.
Lord Byrum turned to the crowd of scared Clay family members lingering in the courtyard. He frowned as he read the fear on all their faces.
All of you, go back inside your chambers at once. None of you shall speak of this matter after tonight, understood? If I hear any whispers, there will be dire consequences.
Yes, my lord. We won't say a word. With that issue dealt with, Lord Byrum grabbed Michael by the collar and dragged him back inside the compound walls, all while staring up at the rooftops in case the murderer still lingered.
Ouch, Father! Don't squeeze so hard. You're hurting me.
Finally, Lord Byrum reached Michael's chambers and led him inside.
Michael, listen to me now. You are to stay in your chambers here and not leave them for even a moment. Understood? For the next 2 days, you will call this room your home, and you will keep the window blinds closed at all times. Do you hear me, boy?
Yes, Father. Yes, I hear you. Finally, Lord Byrum's grip on his son relaxed. After Jason's death, he was terrified of the prospect of losing his last son. If Michael passed, Lord Byrum would be forced to forfeit his family's nobility during the aristocracy examination. Rather than fear for his son's safety, Lord Byrum's thoughts focused solely on protecting his assets moving forward.
Good boy.
Lord Clay sighed and closed the door to his son's room. Father, wait.
Yes, Michael, what is it?
Who could have done this to us? Who could have killed Mordrid? Could it have been the Hayfields?
I doubt it. No, only Ulrich stood a chance against Mordred's powers, and even then, our assassin would have won.
Then someone else must have done it. Do the Hayfields have some sort of awesome champion protecting them that we don't know about?
I don't know yet, but I promise you, boy, I will get to the bottom of this soon enough.
Lord Byrum shut the door on his son and locked it from the outside. Click. The Lord of House Clay turned back toward a window overlooking the courtyard and sighed. He spent a sleepless night staring at embers in his fireplace, contemplating all the different ways that Mordrid could have died. Over the following few weeks, the Hayfield family suffered no other disturbances as they waited in the city. Amelia spent her days exploring the bustling downtown markets, while Ulrich spoke with other lords about the upcoming exams. Nathan, meanwhile, continued his training in secret, jogging the perimeter of the city each night before leaving the city walls to lift boulders in the nearby forests. Finally, one morning over breakfast, Ulrich rubbed his hands together excitedly.
Today is the day, you two. Registration day. Hurry up and finish eating before it gets too crowded down there.
As had always been the rule of this land, noble families had to register themselves as participants defending their titles in the aristocracy exam against all challengers, whether they be stronger commoner families or ambitious noble ones. Anyone could challenge a family for their noble titles. Therefore, if the Hayfield family did not register, they would automatically forfeit their seat and all of their property. Nathan now understood that this was, in part, why House Raven used House Crane against them. Since House Raven needed to officially defend its seat as one of the 3 High Lord houses, House Raven could not directly challenge the Hayfield title. So instead, the crafty High Lord Raven had encouraged House Crane to challenge the Hayfields on his behalf. That way, once Carlton Crane became Lord Crane, he'd have a powerful ally in the High Lord Raven. At least, that seemed to be their plan. Nathan, however, had no intention of letting any of that happen. He finished his breakfast quickly and threw on an overcoat as he followed his father to the restaurant exit.
Enough political intrigue for now. I must focus on what's right ahead of me.
Nathan took a deep breath and relaxed his shoulders. He knew he also had to register to compete in the spiritual fighting examination, which would occur a few days before the aristocracy exam.
First things first, let me do well in this student warrior examination. Let me show them all the true power of Asura.
After their meal was finished, the three Hayfields weaved their way through the city until they reached Godricshall City Center, a municipal meeting hall where the registrations took place. As the Hayfields stood in their place in line, they soon heard a familiar voice call out to them.
"Nathan! There you are, my friend! I tried to call upon you to travel with us, but when I arrived at the manor, I'd heard you'd already left."
"Think nothing of it, Baylor.
It's good to see you again."
Nathan smiled as Baylor and Podrick approached them as they left the registration table up ahead. Ulrich immediately launched into telling his old friend Podrick a series of jokes as the two boys spoke privately.
"Best of luck on your spiritual warrior examination. I'm nervous about mine, but I'm sure you'll do great. I'll bet you could even take on the High Lord Raven himself if you wanted to." "Thanks for your confidence, my friend. As a matter of fact, that gives me an idea."
Nathan turned to Ulrich, whose face was already flushed red from laughter.
"Father, why don't I register our family in the nobility examination while you and Amelia reminisce with the Grahams here?"
"Why not? It's best you learn how that process works sooner rather than later. Just be careful to spell our names correctly on the forms, all right?"
"Yes, Father. I will do as you say."
With that, Ulrich, Amelia, and the Grahams stepped out of line as Nathan continued on to the front desk. When Nathan reached the front and took out the form for his spiritual fighting examination, he quickly filled it out and signed it. Next, he moved on to his family's nobility examination form. On it, he saw that the Crane family had already challenged his family seat. He'd need only to check a box next to a shield icon beside his family name, and he would be sure to face the Cranes in combat, and most likely succeed in defending the Hayfield title. But Nathan didn't do this. Instead, he looked further up the form to where the High House Raven sigil was. Next to it, he checked the box beside the sword icon. In other words, Nathan risked his family's name to go after the High Lord Raven's seat of power. Since he didn't defend the Hayfield title, the Cranes would automatically receive his family's land while he faced off against House Raven for their title and properties. The clerk at the counter couldn't believe what he had read when Nathan passed the form over to him.
"Young man, what you've written here must be some sort of mistake. Please, change it before someone notices, and I'll be forced to accept it."
Nathan only shook his head and smiled confidently.
"Thank you for the reminder, but no mistake has been made. It's a gamble, I know, but after I defeat the High Lord Raven, it will pay off handsomely." "As long as you defeat the High Lord Raven? Child, are you feeling well? You're speaking nonsense words."
The clerk couldn't decide if the young man in front of him was brave or stupid, or both. After all, the three High Lord families had occupied their distinct seats of power directly below the Duke for hundreds of years. The Lightstones, the Hales, and the Ravens were all well-known family names in Godric's land, with thousands of pounds of silver and hundreds of warriors at their beck and call. Yet Nathan didn't seem the least bit nervous about taking on the High Lord Raven's family.
"I've never felt better, clerk. Now, please, submit my form as is." Very well, then, young warrior. It's your funeral, after all.
Nathan grinned and casually strolled away from the clerk at the counter.
Just wait and see what happens. I think you'll be surprised.